Hello from chilly North Carolina. We're just kind of finishing up our winter hiatus. I know I haven't been on here for a little bit. I had somebody the other day on a group that I follow talking about how they were a YouTuber or an influencer or something like that. And I thought, well, I just probably couldn't be farther from that. Just an old man wandering around on his Social Security, burning up highway. But that means things are going to be a little sporadic. Over the winter, over the last couple months, I've changed motorcycles, and I want to talk about that a little bit and why. And it's kind of one of the sadder changes I've made. I've had many, many motorcycles over the years, and letting go of my little Himalayan was probably the toughest, but it was the right decision at this time. So let's talk a little bit about how we got there. Around, it must have been September or so, 2021. Keep those years straight. Um, I got talking to my brother up in Alaska, and we decided, well, one of the things I really wanted to do was go ride the Trans-America Trail. And at that time, I had an ST 1100 and a VT 700 in a Deauville, anyway, Honda. Um, both of them really not suited for that, and I started looking for the right kind of bike. And I went around with a lot of different ideas and all the standards, and I can't explain exactly why the Himalayan popped into my view, but when I went out and looked at one and rode one, it belied every spec ever. It was just the most tractable, rideable, go anywhere thing, and I said, this is what I want to use. And I made a little start on the Himalayan trail. There's a video of what went wrong there. I don't blame the motorcycle at all, but things did go a little off. And then we kind of let that idea go because I ran into a fellow at a bunker biker site who talked to me about a long term goal. And my long term goal um, had been to eventually leave my job and eventually go in search of a whole group of nomadic riders that, well, independent, not so much group, of nomadic riders who lived on the road, who I'd met years and years ago while I was running around on my V-Strom. So I thought this would be a good motorcycle to travel with and to use and to stealth camp and get out in the middle of nowhere. And talking to this guy in the bunker biker site, he he said, you don't have forever. So I hadn't bought the Himalayas specifically for this, but it seemed like a good bike for it. I quit my job, sold my house, and parked that money, and we'll have some discussions about this. Went on a $30 a day lifestyle. So I'm not like the YouTubers out there that are sleeping in hotels and sponsored and all of that. And I don't degrade that at all. I wish I was at times, but at times it's good to have this kind of challenge. Anyway, getting off the track here. The Himalayan seemed like the absolute perfect bike for me. I envisioned only back roads. I envisioned going out in the middle of nowhere. And had that always been the case, it would have been the perfect bike. So I have nothing but good things to say about that motorcycle. And like I said, probably 20, 30 bikes. And this one was one of the hardest ones to say, this is just not the right one for me right now. I mean, going over, I put a cam in it, I put a higher gearing in it, and yeah, it would run 70. It'd take a little while to get there. Um, it would even pass very, very slowly, but when you got up to altitude, it was struggling. I going over the Continental Divide at like 9,600 feet, and it was, uphill going 45 miles an hour in second gear. And sure, I was with the trucks. I just found that amusing. It wasn't a problem. But what I didn't envision was sometimes the need for long days, outrunning weather, putting distance in there. My budget relies on living or at least sleeping for free, whether that be bunker biker friends or camping. And sometimes campsites or sites to stay were considerable distance apart. And sometimes we had weather that just allowed the middle of the day being, tolerably warm enough, so you couldn't get very far in 4 hours at 60, 65 miles an hour. So that became a problem. And then I got into the cities, and I have friends in the cities, and I was in Los Angeles, and faced with entering freeways with the exit that I needed being 1 mile up and exiting on the left across 5 lanes of traffic. And when you can't accelerate and everybody's doing 80, 85 miles an hour, it's scary. Coming through Dallas, um, I was doing, 65, and I don't mind that. I don't mind sitting in the right lane, backing up traffic. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no problem with that. I will not take that away from that motorcycle. It's a good cross country motorcycle. It really is. But when you get into the cities and you're doing 65 in the right lane, and suddenly two more lanes are added to your right, and people are going 85 in those, people are behind you honking, people are pulling out from behind you, exposing you to the person behind them. It all got to be a very scary situation. And I said, "You're just kidding yourself. You're gonna get hurt." This was not the motorcycle for that kind of riding. But I just never want to take anything away from that bike. It was, it was and is the most personality filled, uh, and easiest to ride over the. Every time I thought I had a tough condition off road, it just, aside from mud, which everybody loves, um, it just handled it. It just handled it easily. It's not going to go flying over the jumps or anything like that, but it handled things well. So that was sort of why we moved on from the Himalayan. So I want to talk a little bit about what we went to and why, and a little bit of comparison. Came time to look at what to go to, what to change to from the Himalayan. It was a tough decision. I knew I was getting into my house sale money, which was never going to buy me another house, but it was kind of emergency backup, and I consider this sort of a loan to myself. So I'm trying to keep this $30 day budget pretty tight. Um, while I did have some money, I had to think about how to spend it. And I looked at the Teneres, and I looked at the Africa Twins, and drooled over that. And I wondered when Suzuki was actually going to come out with the 800 V-Strom that they debuted at a show. But as I looked at them, I kept thinking, I had one issue with the Himalayan, and I burned up a fuel pump. It was really my fault running the fuel way too low. Um, and it cost me a fair amount because I had to have the bike trucked and everything else. And I thought, I want simplicity. And I'm going, it's great to have ABS, although everybody off road is trying to figure out how to turn it off. Um, it's wonderful to have 15 traction modes, but where do those electronics go when you drop it in a river? Uh, I didn't even want the fuel pump. I didn't want, I mean, I can rebuild a carburetor in 45 minutes, and as I found out, even less than that with this bike. Um, it was a tough decision. So I said, nah, the newer ones just aren't doing it for me. The expense is certainly not worth it. And so I started looking elsewhere. And as I looked at the lesser expensive, dual sports, adventure bikes, whatever. Uh, certainly I looked at the KLRs. Uh, KLR, probably first generation, was most interesting to me because it was simple and it didn't have much plastic on it. And then second gen, 2008 or so, they, put a lot more plastic on it. And I started worrying that, you're going to drop a dirt bike or you're going to drop an off road bike. It's going to happen. You can, have all the ego you want. And all the skill you want. And I don't have a great deal, so it's going to happen. Um, and the later ones, they're fuel injected. They are, ABS, and everybody's always, the secret to turning off their ABS is this or that or whatever. So what I switched to and what I looked at is The bike that's referred to as just a big old dirt bike, which is the DR650 Suzuki. I would have gone back to a V-Strom had that certainly gave me the speed and the comfort and the distance I needed, but I wanted to be able to go off road as well, at least as well as the Himalayan, and sort of disappear into the woods when I needed to. So the DR was first started in they first started making those in like 1993 or somewhere around there, and I don't think since '98 they've made a change other than adding Loctite to a couple of the bolts. I mean, it's really, really locked in. Carbureted, gravity feed, you know. That being said, no bike's without its issues. I'm a big one on getting into the forums right away, and there are a lot to be said about the Himalayan, and I think I've gone through that in past posts about what's wrong with it, what's right with it, what needs to be addressed right away. And, there are some charging and a spark distributor issue with the DR that occasionally comes up. I'm considering whether we get a fork brace, but a couple little things, but none of them are as absolutely bomb proof as everybody would like them to be. So I'm happy enough with it. I consider it, it's been one of the ones that's been around the world as much or more than just about any bike. And it is basically just that, a big old dirt bike, which is a great platform. As it is, can you do the long distance days on it? Yeah, I'm kind of a believer you can on any seat because I've addressed that. Like when I talked about when I did the review on the seat concept seat, uh, I mentioned that I didn't really think that that was the primary thing as much as how you ride the motorcycle, but it did need a seat. Uh, they talk about the KLR being more comfortable on the highway. That may be, but that's as box stock. After I put a seat concept seat on this, 400 or 500 mile days, not a big deal on the DR now. Um, but it needed things. It's got I had to put a windshield on it, skid plate on it, boxes on it, shorter kickstand because I lowered it. And that's one of the great things about the DR650 is that it has a factory lowering option, which is easily done and allows us vertically challenged people to get on the bike and just roll. So this is what I like about it. It's simple. It's got the easiest to work on carburetor I've ever seen in my life because you don't even need to take it off. You can rotate it in its boot without taking a single fairing off. Take the top off, take the bottom off, change the jets, do whatever you need to. I have on the fly idle mixture control. It's got enough power that it's not a big degradation to go to high altitudes. Yeah, ideally there's your there's your bonus of fuel injection is altitude changes, but seriously, it's not that big deal. I mean, I was running at 24 horses on the Himalayan, and certainly losing power and losing power and losing power at altitude. No, no fuel injection changes that. When you run out of oxygen, you run out of power. However, you're running at a more optimal mixture with the fuel injection. So, I mean, if I had to rejet this, it would take all of a half an hour. So, anyway, that's what I've got to say. We're going to go out and take a look at the bike and what I've done to it. We've put 2,000 miles on it now. Izzy seems to like it. She's not used to doing wheelies, but that's a new thing. Um, but that's it. We're going to go take a peek and see what's been done. And I'll talk about, my impressions of the DR650. Okay, as stated by a lot of people, the DR650 is basically just a big old dirt bike, and you spell that OL. Um, it does come with this really, really, really nice feature here, which allows you to restrain your riding partner, which she's not happy about. As it first comes out, it's really not very suitable as an adventure type bike because it's got a pretty short range, got a lot of wind in your face. and we may have to silence this dog. But let's go front to back and see what we've changed. First thing I did was I added a parabellum windshield. I like it. You generally do look over it and it directs the air right up over your helmet. That works fine for me. I stuck of all of last year's. It's a little hokey, I think, but I stuck of all. These are all the states we went to last year. I guess we'll add new ones this year back onto the back here, the front of the box. But the parabellum windshields worked out real well. It was solid, quick, easy install. I put it on in a Cerbis. I don't know how we pronounce that. But skid plate here. This is a polymer skid plate, which they say slides over rocks a little easier. I haven't had to do that yet, but we'll find out. The stock fuel tank at 3 gallons is much too small if you're going to do any traveling. If you're using it as, quote, the big old dirt bike, it's fine. But I've got a 5.3 gallon of service on here. One thing I don't like about that, unfortunately, is that I love my magnetic tank bags. And this tank being all plastic, won't fit that, but that's not that big a deal. One thing also that I'm trying to get used to is going back to a petcock that doesn't have a vacuum control. I'll probably get one. I'm in the middle of painting this, so ignore all that. I'm probably going to leave a stripe of the natural on here because you can see the fuel, and it has no fuel gauge, has none of that. You have to, reset your odometer. It's just old school. But you also got to remember to turn your fuel off. I may get a vacuum activated one. I'm not sure. And some people put another one on the other side because this does have an area where you can't get the fuel unless you lay the bike over quite a bit, which, I don't know, it's sort of reserved to the reserve. The seat concept seat I added, that works very, very well. Comfortable for me. Got a little junk on it right now. And enough area in the back to provide enough real estate to support my real estate eater dog. I'm still happy with her little pet carrier, but it takes up a lot of room on my bike. Put the Tusk pannier boxes on there. I'm happy with those. I had the black ones on the Himalayan. I don't know why I went with these. Somehow I think I like the black ones better, but can of spray paint will fix it. I put LED turn signals on the back. I don't know why. Just, thinking that would be better somehow. And then I got into that high-speed blinking thing, so had to get a turn signal flasher for that. I don't know that I'd do that again. There's really no problem with the originals. Tusk boxes are working well. Everything's working well. This takes the same 90-90-21, 120-90-17 front and rear tires. The fronts are that the Himalayan did. Also, the KLR takes those. And it's funny because those 3 bikes, especially the Himalayan and the KLR, are extremely popular motorcycles. And yet, it's kind of hard to get the rear tires. You end up waiting a while. So if you're ordering from Amazon, you'll hardly ever find them in a motorcycle store. So if you've got any of those 3 bikes, be forewarned and get them well in advance. But that's about it. And Izzy says she's done talking, so we'll go back inside and finish this up. But that's the DR. I'm happy enough with it. No real complaints about it. It is comfortable. It wasn't initially, but well, this one wasn't bad because this one actually had a seat concept seat on it. I just put the low version on it, but I can see where they wouldn't be with the regular saddle. This is a 2021. It had 5,000 miles on it when I bought it, and it has a little over 7 now. So we're starting to put them on. I'm starting to get used to it and understanding what it is. And yes, Izzy, we are going to go inside. Okay, baby? Back inside, we're a little bit warmer again. Getting ready to leave North Carolina. Going to go to Missouri, meet with some friends there, do a little bit of work on the bike. Time for a valve adjustment, and we're going to change the oil and get it generally prepped. I'm going to go down into the Southwest for a little bit, but through April and May, worked my way up to Washington through the Sierras, Cascades, and Rockies, and then the end of May we are going to Alaska. We're going to go to Alaska for about a month and come back, head across. I think I'm going to spend some time in the Olympic Peninsula, and then head across the northern states. I want to do the Dakotas, etc. But in the most part, I want to chase the 72-degree temperatures because this, 36-degree stuff is not good on a Florida kid. Um, Although I can't stand when I have to go to Florida, it feels like a trap I want to get out of. That's a long story. Anyway, we are looking forward to this year. We're looking forward to the DR. Uh, I'm sure that I will love it a lot. I don't mean to not sound enthusiastic about it. I am. It's just very utilitarian and it does its job. The personality in the Himalayan really shone through. And when I hit the other coast with it, both with it, when I did it with my V-Strom, it gave a different kind of bonding. So I'm sure I'll develop the emotional bond with the DR as we approach that West Coast and all of that good stuff. So anyway, that's about that. As I said, I'm not really a YouTuber, and certainly not an influencer and all of that. We appreciate the help that we get. We're running along on, like I said, completely on Social Security, and that's good. I don't do that with any real jealousy about anybody else in their situation. But I want people to understand that you're not going to see episode 1, episode 2, lots of good graphics and all of that stuff. We're going to try and give you a good, honest reporting on what's going on. And a lot of this, if I've renamed my sites and things, but all centering around Steve's journey. A lot of it has to do with philosophy, exercise, sexuality, all kinds of crap about getting old and being older, and progressing through life, and the things that we see and the things that we learn. So I hope you'll join me. I'd certainly hope you support me. I'm not big on that. I've learned not to beg, but appreciative of and accept gratefully. We have a pretty good little baby Patreon following, which for $4 a month you're helping to pay for my tires and chains and all that crud. But I don't ask anything from anybody. I appreciate you all. I hope you share with other people. I hope you like what you see. I mean, I'm not. I sometimes get production value comments, and oh, you filmed this in vertical, and where do you get this music? It's garbage and that kind of thing. And I'm going. I say this is me. You're not going to find anything but me and little Izzy. I hope you're following her on Instagram, because she speaks for herself. But anyway, that's it. I'm going to come back very soon and sort of make some videos on the $30 a day traveling the country lifestyle and how it's done. And I wouldn't even mind, if people want to venture into that, but are a little hesitant about doing it alone. When I'm in the area, I'm certainly welcome or happy to, pick people up as, co-travelers for a while anyway. And we can learn about stealth camping and BLM land and Bunka-Biker and all of that good stuff. But anyway, that's about it. I just wanted to update on what's going on, what our plans are, what I'm writing now, why I'm writing it now, and and I can't say enough. It's not a shortcoming in the Himalayan. It's a change in mission. That's all. So thank you for your time. We appreciate you, both of us. Bye.